to D10tion, where we pretend to know what we're talking about when it comes to D&D. I am your host, Stonebelly Tristan. To my right, we have Bird Killer Sam. And to my left, we have Brandon, Word Weaver.
Solid.
Yeah.
Solid.
So I'm giving us all these random nicknames because today we're talking about probably my favorite race so far, which is Goliaths.
Gee, I wonder why it's your favorite.
Oh no, how would you have guessed this?
If you don't pick at the end of this a certain character as your favorite, I'm going to be disappointed.
Yeah, it's going to be a big show.
That's it.
Take bets.
Alright, so yeah, we're continuing our delve today into the different races of D&D, and again, we are talking about probably my favorite race, which is the Goliaths. We're going to kind of briefly go over their attributes, their benefits, their faults, as well as a little bit into their history and mannerisms and stuff like that. So, to put it simply, Goliaths are Goliath. They're huge, huge people. So they're often considered, mountain folk and stuff like that. They're considered to be descendants of giants. There's a reason they're called Goliaths. They're a tribal people.
Literally, they're big tribal people who you don't want to be like, I'm just going to wander in this random tribe and, hey, look at that, I'm dying.
Yeah.
But they're also driven competitors. For
Yes.
example, if a Goliath goes out and let's say that it kills a bear, it's probably going to sit there and be like, time to tackle the next bear. And then maybe it'll up its game from there. Instead of a bear, how about an owl bear? Or maybe a dragon. Or maybe a bigger dragon.
Yes.
This brother's going to be like, I'm going to take care of two.
Keep achieving and keep conquering and keep going.
It's very much a competitive thing amongst clans. Is usually what they're, instead of tribes, they're usually considered
I
clans.
strongest.
Yes,
I
they're definitely trying
strongest.
to one-up each other.
Punch me.
They
Punch me in the face.
Their goal is to be, the best of the best, the baddest of the baddest, at whatever it is they're doing. Whereas, one might be like, I am the best hunter out there, so they keep trying to up it. Other ones very much might be the best artisan. They're like, I want to be the one who writes the most, or I want to do the biggest painting.
I made this big stone statue. That's just a rock. I made it. Beat it. You can't.
I mean, because of this, they are very self-sufficient, and they are individually skilled. But everything kind of comes back down to they keep score, and they count their deeds and tallying their accomplishments to compare to others, again, to hold themselves higher than each other. Even though that for the most part, and we'll talk about it more in a little bit, is that they're very much for the group.
But being strong helps the group.
Yes.
Yeah.
They want to be the best, but their best is only good if it's helping the clan.
And they also see that as a way of sort of, how they lead their own tribes. For example, like a monarch wouldn't really work out so well in a Goliath tribe because if that person's not the most intelligent, the strongest, the best for the tribe, then they're pointless in their opinion.
Right. This is where they're constantly trying to be better, so they're not going to follow someone who is not trying to be better. Then someone else is just going to be like, I'm better than you. And the clan's going to be like, he's better than you. And they're going to be like, all right, time to switch.
Prove it.
Yeah, either prove it or move on to something else.
Shut up or shut up.
And it's because of this reason that any Goliath that can't pull their own weight and can't help out their tribe, they're often exiled.
Yes.
Yes.
They're very much people that, the survival of the fittest, but the...
Survival of the fittest, and they're all for, if you can't cut it, ship up or shape out.
Right, this is where you're going to
Wait.
see that this is the trait that you see mostly when they interact with other races, for sure. Because this is where they're going to try and prove themselves that they're better at things. Or this is where you'll see them when they respect someone who does something like that. This is where you get that classic kind of mentality of, if someone gets in a fight and this big bad dude fights the other guy and the other guy knocks him out, he's going to be like, dude, that was great! That was awesome! Let's have a drink! We're friends now! And you're like, hold up, you were trying to kill me a second ago.
Well, Sonderheim.
Yeah, I know, right?
And it's kind of also because of this aspect of their lives that a lot of them don't tend to age elderly. Typically they would rather die in battle as opposed to grow old and die. Because,
Much like works. Without so little brains.
Yeah, and for them it's a lot more about like sort of proving themselves and like they would continuously rather throw themselves in battle to show their worth as opposed to stand back and not risk that.
Right. I mean, this is definitely where you're going to see it, and you see it all the time as when you say as far as age-wise goes. Everything comes down to the clan. If you can't provide for it, like you said, they're exiled. If you can't pull your own weight, you're exiled. Because again, if you are a hindrance to the continuation of everything, you are no longer part of that clan.
Yeah.
Or even if certain actions that you do would be a danger to it, the clan will see them as a danger to it and exile them. This is where, like, if you follow Bards and Nobles, this is one of the reasons why Soren is exiled from his family, is because he made a choice that was putting him in, he decided to help one person, which would have put the clan in danger. They're like, that could be a problem. Goodbye.
Too helpful. Get out of here.
Hey, you're too helpful to one person. You're endangering
Dad, I don't care.
Get out. But because of they're so driven to outdo themselves and everything, they get them, like you said, killed. No old age.
Which also means that their leadership is sort of lacking in those that get the benefit of wisdom with age. So a lot of times when they look for leaders, they have to find those that are sort of innately wise.
Yes.
Like those people that just innately and naturally make good life choices.
Druids.
Yeah, because like
Druids!
and this is where there's that double-edged sword. Like when you said earlier on, a monarch wouldn't work because the relationship between peasants and nobles confused Goliaths.
Yeah.
Because they're like,
What do you mean you're not that good? Go fight him. We can't do that.
Why not? If you fight him, you were a better
Right.
person, right? And so that's where it's. But at the same time, there's like that equality that runs, because much like when you delve into the history of Goliath and everything, men and women don't matter as far as who is better. Men aren't better than the women, because there are just as many female Goliaths that are strong, independent warriors who will kick a man's ass, as well as the males that will be artisans or traders or
They don't
leaders.
see gender.
Yes, they're very much boom, doesn't matter for the clan.
1090 AD in their realm. Get on their level.
Right?
So and that's one of the aspects personally for me. I love it when they have a race that doesn't care male or female, because there's and of course this is where I delve much more into my own personal interest, with Vikings and stuff like that, where women were seen in a lot of ways equal, or if not better in certain aspects. It was everyone had a role to play. It didn't matter what you were. And I really appreciate that when I find that in different races. And Goliath definitely, as much as a tribal nature as they are, very much is focused on that.
So that could be, why you just compounded tribal nature, equality. Let me just add some Viking into this mix.
Add Goliaths.
And
And with that, you have sword.
Right. Well, and this is where, if you watch Bards and Nobles, you'll see that...
When you watch.
So while you watch Bards and Nobles, you'll see that Soren doesn't really treat women different than he would treat a dude. It's just if a female warrior comes up and kicks ass, he's like, "You are a kick-ass warrior." If a dude does the same thing, he's like, "You're a kick-ass warrior." It doesn't matter what you do, or even if they're more let's say more of an artisan, it doesn't matter. Like, oh yes, you should be in there. It's like, no, it doesn't matter. Dude's cooking or making a flower arrangement, like, Dodd, you've made this wonderful flower arrangement. Like, thanks, my family thinks I'm a pansy. It's like, no, this is beautiful. I love it. You are best at this. You are now flower dancer. I don't like that one. How about floral master? I like that one better. All right, that is your new nickname.
Speaking of nicknames,
Yes.
Goliath names are quite interesting, as they typically have 3 names assigned to them by the parents, and usually, so they'll have their first name, which is given by the parents, but then a nickname, which is usually given by the tribal chief, and then a family or a clan name. Typically, a birth name is about 3 syllables long, and clan names are about 5 syllables long. Goliath names are complicated.
Yes. If you're trying to name an accurate Goliath name, it is a pain in the...
Do you mean Jeroen Bearskinner Churokokin?
Yes.
Yes.
Soren Thunderfist Jotunheim.
Spell that out, I dare you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
I still can't spell
if
it.
you were to look back, if you were to go back to Roll for Bluff, talking about our time in Sonderheim, and you deal with the different tribes, it is a lot of names to keep track of.
Yeah.
Because especially...
Churokokin.
Well, because like you said, the last names are always a challenge if you're trying to name them, because they have to end in a vowel, and they are long names.
Yeah. And then when it comes to the nickname, the thing about the nickname is kind of interesting because it can actually change depending on the tribal elder or the chieftain. And typically it refers to a deed that they've done or a success or a failure that was committed by that Goliath. So, they could be like this heroic Goliath of their tribe and they could be called like Orc Slayer and that's their nickname. But then, maybe they sell them out to some bandits and then they could be called like
Wordbreaker.
Traitor.
They could be
Wordbreaker.
called. Well, I got something better. They could be called Dead.
Valid point.
But you know what I mean? So that nickname isn't necessarily a permanent thing.
Or it's
can be
something that
changed.
grows with him. Because you could be
Yeah.
a child and you'd be like, oh, look at him. He is, look at those drawings he is doing. He is
Cran Cruncher.
Okay, he's not eating the crayons, but okay.
My Goliath child is eating the crayon.
Or-
I knew exactly what you were trying to say.
They can start off like as an infant, they cry a lot, so it's like, oh, they're screech sayer, or and then as they get older, it's like, oh, look, but now they are fighting with much fury. They are now fist fighter, or something like that. And then as they get older, it's like, oh, do you see that? June has just killed bears. Many of them. He is bear murderer now, and it just evolves with them, or whether it's an act or something else like that. It changes, and this is where a lot of Goliaths, where they interact with other people, they give them nicknames.
So typically when sort of presenting themselves to others, Goliaths will use all three names, and then once you've known them for a little bit, they'll just typically sometimes just the nickname or the first name.
Yeah, like you said, so every time you usually meet a proper Goliath, if it's their proper, like you said, that's a full name you're getting. It's like, hi, who are you? I am Akuna, Bear Killer Akathathina. Okay.
I'm gonna call you just Akun.
Yeah.
Bear Killer is also appropriate.
We're in a nursery.
Are there bears?
I just love some of the examples
No.
of nicknames, by the way, on dndbeyond.com. I just love them. Like, there's, like, Twisted Limb, Twice Orphaned, Horn Carver. Like, some of them are just so weird.
How do you become twice orphaned?
You're adopted.
Your parents
by
are
someone
dead,
else?
but you're in a tribe, so no one would adopt you. Which means, in my mind, your parents died. The tribe adopted you, and then your whole tribe is murdered.
Yeah.
And now I'm twice. Or so what's your parents? They're dead twice.
But see, so it doesn't necessarily have to be like a good thing, you know what I
Right.
mean? Or even a bad thing. It could be just a circumstance of your life. Like
The Twisted Limb
if
is a good
Soren
example.
like lost all of his money, or if he was like kind of like the hobo of the group, they might call him like Poor Pockets. Or,
Yeah.
you know
Or if
what I mean?
he relieved himself when he was scared, he'd be
Pee pants.
Soren Pea Pants Jotunheim.
loose boweled.
Right, and this is where you'll also see it where it can be reflective of their body. Like Twisted Limb is a good one, or
My arm's all messed up.
well, he very well could have an arm that's messed up, but then he's pulling his weight with one of them. That is Twisted Limb over there. You're like, oh, cool, gosh, he's still a good worker. Or
He's dent-headed.
Yeah, good.
Yeah.
There are a lot of fun things you can do if you want to make your tribe a little more jovial, and like there's like the jester of the group where they're just like the town fool, or you can just make it a bunch of heavy metal things like blood drinker.
Yeah, I mean, you really can't go wrong with just. It's very much like when the typical like orc name, or even dwarven to some degree. Very much similar to that as far as coming up with them, but I like it because you have the three options. Again, that last name is always going to be a challenge. If you don't have a challenge with Goliath last names, you're lying.
Sit down with your DM, figure out what's going on with that,
Yes.
and then give your DM a chance to make a tribe, if possible, to prep beforehand. If not,
Right.
do not expect your DM to, one, be able to pronounce your tribe name, two, have a tribe ready for you.
Yes.
Because, oh boy, if you come in with the name like Gale All, Dawn Caller, and you make a necromancer Goliath, and your DM's gonna be like, wait a minute.
Something didn't matter.
Something not matching up
You're
here.
no longer Dawn Call. You're a dead talker.
So things like that,
Yeah.
you need to think about what you're playing and how that plays into what your nickname is.
Yes.
Like Thunderfist. You call down lightning and you praise Thor.
Yeah.
So that makes sense. You don't actually punch people that often.
No, because I have a hammer now.
Thunderhammer.
But there's part of me that always imagine when he rages, there's probably like
We already know you crackle with Super Saiyan energy.
Yes.
I describe it every single time you rage.
Yes. So I mean, yeah. So names are always going to be something to really delve into, and Goliaths are no exception. They're actually a solid reason why you need to pay attention to something. And that being said, you can always just make a Goliath that was just raised as a human. He's just like, hey, that's Bob over there. That's Bob. Yeah, he's big.
I'm Bob. I'm the building maker. Oh, he's Bob the Builder.
Bob the Builder.
So I mean, as we're talking about names and how we're going to go into like their traits here, and this is why you're really going to see why we talk about them, that they are descendants of giants. So Sam, why don't you kick us off with some of their...
If you are a Goliath, you are strong and hardy. You get a +2 to strength and a +1 to constitution. So good luck trying to one-on-one a Goliath fighter or something like that, because you're probably not going to do well.
Yeah!
Look at my great axe.
They also have lifespans that are comparable to humans. They tend to, enter adulthood in the late teens and then live less than a century.
So, if you see I'm a Goliath and I'm 85 years old, you're going to be like, what have you not killed? That's the better question.
Yeah. Now, I will think that it's interesting to also talk with your DM on that part, because as we mentioned earlier, there's probably not a lot of Goliaths that live to old age, just based off of their tribal tendencies to sort of like fight battles and take those type of risks. So if you do want to play an older Goliath, talk with your DM. You've probably seen a little bit more. You're probably a little bit more wise, but you're probably also not the type to run headfirst into battle. So
I mean, there's a number of reasons. You could be, a one that's just somehow managed to survive.
you got real lucky.
Or you were someone that wasn't raised in a clan, so you never
That's
picked
true.
up those things. You could be Bob the Builder, and he's just a contractor who's 85 years old and just doesn't want to give up his business.
I like my spruce more than I like my maples.
I used to be really tall, but I've gotten shorter. So as far as alignments go, Goliath societies are clear in their roles and tasks, so they become very strong as far as lawful areas.
With their laws.
Yes. The Goliaths have a sense of fairness and balance with emphasis on self-sufficiency and personal accountability. So this pushes them towards neutrality as well.
So if you think about it, if your Goliath is being swindled by a wizard who keeps pulling tricks over the Goliath's going to be like,
Well, I've
right.
given you chances.
This is how this is going to go. You're going to give me my money back, and we're going to do this.
Right. Or if you were to wander into a Goliath's clan, like just as like a PC, they're going to be like, all right, cool, pull your weight and treat everyone fairly, and we won't have an issue.
You start a fight, you better finish it.
Or you better accept the consequences of the end of it, like a man or a Goliath.
I'm Goliath. We're not sexist.
Now, as we've stated, now this is where it's a clear emphasis on the drastic difference. Now, we've talked about things like Dragonborns, which are...
Big, hefty, human size.
Or, humans can range in a number of sizes. And we've talked about other races, and we'll continue to talk about races that can be fairly large. Now, Goliaths are by far going to be the ones that are going to be the biggest, because Goliaths are usually between 7 and 8 feet tall.
Meaning, minimum in most cases, 7.
So if you're a 7-footer, they're going like, haha, short. If you're 8 feet tall, like, oh, you're about average.
You're good.
So, and they usually weigh between 280 and 340 pounds.
Pure meat.
Yes. However, they are still considered medium, but they are...
Barely.
They're barely in there. Like, when you think of, like, classic, like, pro wrestlers and whatnot, you're like, like, Andre the Giant would be a short Goliath. You think of, like, the size... You see, like, because you'll see pictures, this is just with my knowledge, with Andre the Giant holding a beer can, and that thing is, like, the size of his palm barely. That is a small Goliath.
Yep. You got, a wide range, and your, like, the weight is because of how, like, strong and, like, your constitution is. You could be heavyset. You could be a heavier weighted Goliath, but most of that is going to be just muscle. Natural muscle.
Right. And, of course, those are averages, so depending if you make a taller Goliath or even a shorter Goliath with more weight, that thing's going to fluctuate.
You're big.
Yes, you're big, and your walking speed is still about 30 feet, unless you get other...
You got to have some muscle to have that around.
Right,
so.
and with that muscle, you are a natural athlete. You have the proficiency in athletic skill.
Weird.
Strange. You also get something called Stone's Endurance, which is just sort of like your ability to kind of shrug things off. Like when you take damage, you can use your reaction to roll a d12, add your Constitution modifier to that roll, and then reduce the damage by that total, which is a pretty nice feature that you can use once per longer.
How many times have you used that to stop someone from going down?
Oh, a lot. Like,
Yeah.
when we start getting towards, like, with those big bad fights, and I can see my health is starting to drop, like, because even with raging, and sometimes it's just like, you're going to get hit hard. I'm like, all right, Stone's Endurance. Or I even just wait for, like, it to hit, or you're like, okay, that's going to be this much. I'm like, Stone's Endurance!
Yeah.
Because it doesn't say you have to do it after you know the effects. So let's say you know it's going to be a knockout. It doesn't say when you have to use it.
Right.
It's just you get to know after damage is rolled. So it's a hit. You can choose before or after you're going
Right.
to use it.
Right. So you
can
can wait to hear that DM be like, that's going to be,
34 with your 32 health, you go Stone's Endurance.
yes.
Which
And
is a
especially
great
if you're
way to
building
do
up that con, like if you say you're building, because like with me, I'm a barbarian, I built up that con as well as my strength. Plus you get that +1 to con.
Yeah.
If you're building that up, that D12 plus your con,
So
that's going to make
your
it.
maximum is going to be 17 reduced.
Yes.
Your minimum, if you have a +5, is going to be 6. That's still a good chunk. That's still between
Yeah.
life and death.
Yeah.
Yes, that's very much so.
Now, even though you're considered a medium creature, when you're carrying something, your carrying capacity is considered large,
Yes.
technically. So that's kind of a nice plus that you get.
Right.
You're basically going to be like the group's.
Bring those dragon
Donkey,
bones.
though.
All right.
Right. And this,
Here, hold my stuff.
well, this is where I believe I talked about it with orcs, or at least half orcs, where it was the comic that you see out there where it's like, we've killed the dragon, man, look at all this gold we have, and then
You mean we?
you know, what do you mean you carry? And they're like, oh no.
Yeah.
But that's
that-
a rude person.
Yes. Now this should be, because it's also a way that you can carry and you can push and you can drag or lift.
Yeah.
You're the muscle.
And that's all based on different stats. And if you do use D&D Beyond, which you totally should, it'll automatically calculate that out for you,
Right.
which is really nice. And using, adding things to your equipment list shows you, so it knows, let you know if you're over encumbered or under encumbered.
Yeah. Or if you want to ignore encumbrance.
Yeah.
Which you can. I don't recommend it because then players are going to be like, well, I'm going to just pick up this dragon bone and carry it around. It's like, that weighs like 150 pounds.
That is his sternum.
like,
Right?
you're a dwarf. That's taller than you on every angle. You've got a dragon.
I'm a halfling and I have his femur. What?
How are you using that? So things like that. I would pay attention to encumbrance if you're using D&D Beyond. If not, you need to start and take time during a game to measure encumbrance.
Right.
Unless you're a Goliath or a Lockstone or an Orc. Things
Right.
like that where they have a size larger, then you can kind of give it some wiggle room where like, yeah, I understand why you can pick that up.
Right. So as well as being, a powerful build, you are also technically mountain born. This means you, because we talked about earlier, they are very much mountain people. You've become acclimated to the high altitude, including elevations above 20,000 feet. You are also naturally adapted to cold climates, and you'll find that in the Dungeon Master's Guide.
So if something, because that's a thing as a DM, you guys haven't experienced it yet, but being in the cold for too long or the heat for too long, there are levels of exhaustion that you can
Yes.
get. So you ignore that.
Yes.
While other people will start to get exhausted for being there, you just can be like, oh, okay, picking you up.
Right,
Yeah.
and this is where, like, as a DM, you'll also see, or you'll have the opportunity when you, like, if your party walks into a blizzard, you could very easily be like, your character did not dress for this cold weather, and you'd be like, as a player, like, oh
Oh,
crap,
I didn't think about that. And the
Where's
Glass
it?
just like,
I'm fine, I'm half naked and cool. It's brisk outside.
And for languages, you can speak, read, and write Common and Giant.
Yes.
So you can talk to giants. Yay!
naturally.
Yes, which is, I mean, again, with
Saved
your
butt.
yeah, it
Yeah,
did.
it did.
Most certainly did. And this is where you can, we've kind of dabbled with it as well. We talk about it with elves as well, as far as Fae and stuff. Giant is the language that Dwarven is based off of. It's at least similar runes.
So you could, if you spend time using a general intelligence knowledge check to pick part, you might be able to decipher some other things. As a DM, you could be more relaxed or
Yes.
strict with it. If you want to play nope, nope, then it's nope, nope.
Right.
Or if you can be like, well, I'll give it to you depending on the background.
Yes.
If they're straight from the clan and they've never seen Dwarven,
Probably
I would
not.
say no. Because then they'd be like, oh, that looks weird.
But maybe
Right.
their clan had some trade with dwarves.
Or as well, that's how they even began to communicate in general. Like, you could have it where you have a Goliath clan who's never spoken common, ever.
Everyone that speaks giant.
that speaks only giant, and then dwarves
Interesting.
come across them one day, and they form this mutual respect, and they start going
They
like,
start like drawing down like did this.
so they might start writing, in Dwarven. Goliaths are like, wait a minute, and they start writing like, and they form some kind of
I can only
like.
imagine though the amount of accidental insults. What do you mean I have a small brain?
No, that's big brain. You are smart. I'm sorry. Hold on.
So yeah, and then a war broke out, and welcome to the 1,000-year Dwarven Goliath War.
Goliath War.
I feel like I need this movie in my life.
Dun dun. Between the big and the small. The big, small, and the dead.
So that's kind of all the attributes in a brief history on Goliaths in general. And so, as with all of our episodes dealing with races, we're going to kind of go through and talk about our different races that we've either created or interacted with. So, as far as Goliaths go,
Gorn.
The bad guy?
Yeah.
He's the man. Why?
Because I just like bad guys, I guess. I don't
I
know.
also made him so he kind of broke the barbarian Goliath.
Yeah.
to clarify, Gorn is my Goliath barbarian's brother. Was. I forgot. Did we say he was older or younger?
He was older.
He was older.
So yeah, he was able to cast spells while raging, and the entire table was like, but why? And I was like, you notice his arm, after we unwrapped it, isn't his arm, and it's covered in runes and glyphs. That's how.
We're like,
Yeah.
Gee.
I just thought it was a cool character, to be honest.
Yes, because
Yeah.
with Gorn, there definitely was an evolution. Because it was
Yeah.
very much Gorn was Gorn in the beginning, and then Gorn stopped being Gorn eventually. It was like this arc of like, ha ha,
Brother,
no!
I love you. It's so good to see you. Wait, what are you doing? Why are you being like this? No.
Yeah.
And then he got sucked into a furnace. But that's neither here nor the Nine Hells. My favorite is Gorn and Soren's father, Jarun.
Yes, I figured that
Rest
was
in
going to be
peace. Well, he was a big guy and he was also a monk.
Yes.
So,
Well, he didn't start off with Monk, did he?
He did. He
Oh,
just
did
didn't use it.
Okay.
So yeah, if he was somehow disarmed, he'd be like, well, all right, let's do this. You ever seen like 8.5 feet tall?
Yes, you made him really tall.
You ever seen an 8.5 foot tall Goliath drop kick somebody? Welcome,
drop kick a bird into the air?
welcome to pain.
Yes, Jarun was he was the chief of the Churro.
He
Cocaine.
was.
He was.
He was. May he
Died.
rest in peace.
Yes. I'm sensing a theme with Soren's family.
Well, I made them.
Go on,
really,
that's right. Defend yourself.
I made them really fleshed out and cool because it's your backstory.
Yes. So, and of course, I'll briefly talk about Soren, but I will talk about another one just for, so we're not all just talking about Soren's family is the only Goliath.
They're the best Goliath. What are you talking about?
So
What do you-
Soren is my PC. Soren is the Goliath barbarian of the Storm Herald of the Sea that I play in the Bards Nobles campaign. He is 7'11", covered in not normally they are usually, you'll see a lot of Goliaths are covered in tattoos, usually tribal nature. Usually as they get older they get more and more. Since Soren was banished at a younger age, he only has a few tribal, so he's decided to cover himself with Nordic and Viking runes because he is a follower of Thor.
Which leads him into understanding more dwarvish.
Yes. With most Goliaths, you don't see a whole lot of religion in their lives because they live, they die.
Another reason why he was
They
kicked
live
out.
again.
Get
Yes.
that religion out of here.
Well, he got the religion afterwards.
Yeah, still. Another reason why no one wanted him.
No one wants him back. So Soren runs around worshiping Thor, and he has a big old hammer, and he smashes enemies with. Soren, we've talked about briefly how Soren was kind of kicked. He was exiled, kind of. Did I say that? He was
left.
exiled.
He left and was kicked out at the same time. It's like,
He
I don't
was-
want to be a part of it. We're like, good, we don't want you here.
He was asked to leave because he had made a choice to save one person, and they're like, that's not going to help the whole clan. You endangered everyone by doing so.
Which we haven't got to that yet in the story. I can't wait.
So, since he was more preoccupied with risking himself to help others, he did not fit in with the clan, but that translates to him being very much, lawful good, hero-y kind of character. He is very...
Darn lawful goodies.
I know, I play a lawful good character and a bunch of chaotic neutrals.
I mean, you guys do good things. You just...
No,
I would
it's-
put you into chaotic... I put you into neutral good because... Like, not you. I put if I had to adjust the group and be neutral good because
Yes.
you guys all do good things. You guys just may do it in a
Roundabout
way. Yeah, we killed 20 people, but we saved the princess.
Yes. Yeah. So Soren
Money,
runs.
please.
Money, please.
Yeah. So Soren runs around, and of course he's very much the Viking because he worships Thor and all the gods of Asgard, and so he is fairly fine fighting and then dying, and then with the plans of going to Valhalla.
I live, I die, I live again.
And he's in. If you go back and watch old episodes of Roll Call, you'll see that Thor has pretty much like, yeah, you got a spot, just keep doing your thing.
Don't do anything dumb.
Because that was a big thing for Soren, was that he wasn't aware if he was going to get that. He's like, I'm a descendant of giants, and if you know Norse mythology, giants aren't usually they're perceived as good things in Norse
You're on the
mythology.
same level as Thor.
Well,
You're roughly the same height if he was a person.
yeah, well, because technically Thor is giant born.
Exactly.
But if you look at like their mythologists, especially like cold, like
Frost giants.
frost giants,
Kill 'em.
they're not liked. So, but we could talk about Soren all day.
But
But-
who's your other favorite Goliath? Who is it? I want to know.
Yeah, I'm going to talk about not something that deals with bards and nobles.
Yeah, who is it?
It's probably going to be a main feature or my big show, which is for the wrestling campaign. It's on the other side of the spectrum. He's just a big dude in the wrestling one. What do you want me to say? Kikyo? That's what you want.
Who did you want him to say?
Kikyo.
Why
Kikyo
don't you
is
say Kikyo?
No, I want to do something outside of bards and nobles.
in Barnes and Noble, just so we can finish this whole Barnes and Noble family thing up. Kikyo is Soren's longest friend / love interest that he's had an off and on. She died for a while. Relationship.
Kel had nothing to do with it.
Cal had everything to do with it. Off and on relationship, and there is a little bit of contention in what's going on in that side of the world.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, Kikyo, I care for you deeply. Then come back to the tribe. Nah.
I have a mission.
Come back to the tribe. We can live together. That's the only thing I want. Well, that one thing you want's the one thing I don't want. So, peace. Yeah, and that's going on right now.
It's funny.
So I mean, but you don't have to like because the reason I bring up my big show equivalent is because you don't have to go that route. He is just a Goliath who is in a like a wrestling federation.
What's his class?
He is. I think he's also a barbarian.
Big
Or
shock.
He's either a barbarian or he was a fighter. I don't remember right now. I'm pretty sure it's barbarian. He's just a big dude who fights.
Just give him some knuckle dusters.
It's much more like a monk combat where there's not weapons.
Yeah,
So.
give him knuckle dusters.
Yeah.
Aha! Boom! Oh no, he did.
So yeah, Goliaths.
So yeah, like I said, Goliaths very much fit my personality, my interests, and that's a reason why they're very much my favorite, more or less. It's a reason why the first one we played for the first race I played was this. When we first started playing D&D, and we were getting ready to start a campaign with Brandon. Brandon found Goliaths because they were relatively new, and it was like, I found your race. You're going to be a Goliath. And I was like, what's a Goliath? And he started reading, and I was like, I'm a Goliath.
No, your hands or butts. I already said yes.
Pretty straightforward.
Yes. And it's one of those things where if you know me long enough, you know that Goliaths are going to fit me very well as for a character.
And they do. So far it has.
Yes. So far.
We'll see.
Soren dead. Time to play something weird.
Like a local. We'll get to that in a different episode.
So yeah, so until we talk about those things, those are Goliaths. That's a little bit of their history, their goods, their bads, their
Uglies.
uglies. Depending on your stats, your charisma.
Soren's charisma tanks.
Yeah, oh no.
We have a 9.
Yeah, something like
Yeah.
that.
You can be now charisma. Before you say anything, you can be a very beautiful Goliath that has nothing to do with your actual charisma. Your charisma is how you carry yourself and how you talk. So Soren can speak eloquently, but the way he can try and speak eloquently and the words can come off, but how he delivers things and the way things like that can make it be like, ugh,
Yeah.
don't talk to me.
Right, it could be like you try to be persuasive. They're like, you got a face I don't trust. Me.
You're good looking, but you're also big and scary. I don't like it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But yeah, again, Goliaths I could talk about forever. So until we see you guys next time, detention dismissed.